Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books. So the reading rush happened, and I feel like I'm a little late with my wrap-up. I don't know. I've seen a few people already posting their wrap-ups, but whatever. I'm doing mine now. I ended up completing 4 books for the reading rush, which I was pretty happy with. I knew I wasn't gonna get 7. I could have by doing what I've done in previous years and just reading a bunch of graphic novels, but I didn't. I just had 1. The first book that I completed was Starcrossed by Josephine Angelini. I was very interested in this one because of the Greek mythology, urban fantasy aspect, which is what my main work in progress is. So I wanted to check it out, read more things that are like that. This one completed the challenges of reading a book with purple on the cover, because hello. Read a book that you meant to read last year, because I think I've had this since 2017 actually, but I definitely meant to read it last year, wanted to read it last year. And then that's it. So those 2 challenges were completed with this. So while I was reading this book, I had a lot of moments of seeing a lot of Twilight in it as far as the characters. We have this family unit who, there's demigods in this. We have this family who they have like something about their curse that's tied in with this other girl. They come into this school, this small town, and they're all teenagers. And we have a seer character, like an Alice. We have a brother, I think it was it Hector, who is very much the big blonde dude brother from Twilight, the one that's just like, oh, I'm gonna fight people, that guy. A lot of it just felt very Twilight-esque as far as some of the things going on with the characters and just their archetypes, I guess. Bleh. So I rated it kind of middle of the road for characters because none of them felt super original or super complex necessarily. They were just kind of there. I don't know, they were fine. The world building was kind of fun, the plot was kind of fun, I was intrigued. It's a thicker book, and I never felt like it was, I wasn't slogging through it. The pacing was good and all that stuff. I think the fact that I just like Greek mythology elements, that probably played a pretty big part also in my level of enjoyment because I just found all of that so fun. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 6.3, which is 3 Pushinicorns. The next book that I completed was The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Brashares. This was a reread for me. I primarily listened to it on audio. It was a perfectly fine audiobook. It wasn't like great, it was fine. This completed the challenge of read an author's first book. Read a book that has 5 or more words in the title. Voila. And then read and watch a book to movie adaptation. I've seen The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants a few times. I own it on DVD. It's like so cute and it's just like sweet. Their little friendship. I love friendship stories, particularly female friendships, like strong, healthy, happy, solid female friendships. And that's what these 4 have. There were some things, this book was written a while ago. There's a little bit of problematic stuff here and there, but also some stuff that was handled pretty well, I thought. There's one character who loses her virginity to a college boy, and she has lied about her age, and when he finds out, he is very like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't know how old you were. He was just like, that wasn't okay, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was handled well. It could have been handled very differently. I rated this one pretty high for memorable/impact because, I've read the book twice before, I think, and I've seen the movie a bunch of times. And the one scene in particular with Carmen, when in the movie it's much worse because like America Ferrera, I think, does a great job with this scene. And I probably will get teary-eyed just talking about it. When she calls her dad and is like, just breaks down, asking him like, why didn't you want me? Why didn't you want our family? You wanted this other family. And every time I see it, the waterworks, and it kind of hits a little close to home for me as well, sort of. And yeah, it just, every time that gets me. And like I said, I love female friendship stories, so this is always just kind of stuck in my head. On my 1 to 10, 6.6, which is 3.5 Pushinicorns. Then I read Monstress Volume 3, Haven, and this fulfilled the challenge of reading a book with a non-human main character. Our main character here is she's arcanic, so she's not totally human. And there's also other characters in here that are not human. There's a demon, there's talking animals, there's a talking cat that hangs out with her. I love Monstrous. I talked about it in my last recent wrap-up because I read volumes 1 and 2. And I'm sorry, the artwork is just, it's fucking stupid how good it is. Like, it just suits what I think is aesthetically pleasing. Like, come on. What the frick? Like, I can't even. And I mentioned that volume 1 especially, but even volume 2 a little bit, they can be very confusing. They just make vague references a lot, the characters do, to things where you're like, should I fucking know what that is? And you shouldn't at that point. And so it can be very discouraging, though. I've seen a lot of people say, like, this is just too confusing. And I totally get that, you know. And usually I honestly am like that with things that are like really heavy with the politics and everything. I get kind of like, what the fuck is even happening? But sometimes I'm able to just kind of accept it and be like, I don't know. Doesn't all totally make sense. But if I like the characters enough and the world and I'm curious enough, like I'll be able to just be like, it's cool, I don't know, and I'll find out. And I was able to do that with Monstress. And in volume 2, it gets a little better. Some things start getting answered. And then in volume 3, you're getting a lot more answers. So I really enjoyed it. I'm very excited for the next one. I just highly recommend. If you like dark, very dark, kind of fucked up worlds, and if you think this freaking artwork is amazing, because it is, and you think you could push through being a little confused and just kind of accept it, I highly recommend. It's a really cool story. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 7.3, which is 4 Pushinicorns. Then we come to Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. Oh, Monstrous also fit the challenge of reading a book in the same spot every time. I just read it in bed every night. Wonder Woman, I fulfilled the challenges with those 3 books, but I mean, this technically could be one I meant to read last year also. Initially, I had it as the book to read in the same spot every time, but then I just went with Monstrous for that because it's shorter. This one I took to work and read it at work a couple times. I legitimately had really no idea what to expect with this book because I've seen some people talk about it, but I mean, because I wanted to read it, I probably wasn't paying that much attention if they were talking about it like in a wrap-up because I didn't want to hear spoilers. I really had no idea like what the freaking plot was of this book. And basically, Diana, Wonder Woman, finds a human girl and ends up leaving Themyscira, going into the mortal world, and adventures ensue. There's a curse. And it was kind of funny because Starcrossed deals with the mythology of Helen of Troy, and Wonder Woman, Warbringer, deals with the mythology of Helen of Troy. In both books, we have descendants of Helen of Troy. I was like, oh, wow, fucking weird. I had no idea that they both had that. And in this one, she's called the Warbringer, the descendant of Helen of Troy. And basically, they're trying to break the Warbringer curse. I thought the characters were a lot of fun. We have a little ragtag team of Diana and, oh God, I forgot the chick's name now, the Warbringer. What the fuck is her name? Aaliyah. She's a biracial girl living in New York City. And so we have her brother, one of her best friend, her brother's best friend, who is also the son of the man who like is running their family's company. Anyway, they all go off on this adventure. And we get to see Diana being a badass, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was fun. And I just really liked the characters. Yeah, Aaliyah was, I thought, a well fleshed out character. She had some complexities to her. And it was kind of almost her coming into her own as they're going on this adventure and kind of figuring out what she really wants and who she really is and who she wants to be. I enjoyed it overall, but I rated it a 5 on my 1 to 10 for memorable/impact and for the plot. Because the plot, I felt like kind of meandered a little bit, and then at the end, there was this one particular thing where, you know when you're watching a movie or reading a book, and it's like action, and like climax, and you're like, oh, it's about to happen, and then it doesn't happen. But then like literally 2 seconds later, you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna succeed now. It's about to happen. And it doesn't happen. Okay, but like literally 5 minutes later, like, okay, now we're gonna do it. And it just keeps getting ripped out from underneath you. And it was just a little much for me to where it was just kind of annoying. And I was like, okay, fucking, can we be done already? Like I was starting to just want the book to be over with. So I rated it a bit lower for the plot for that. And while it was fun and enjoyable overall, I gave it a 7 for enjoyment. I like, was it that memorable or impactful on me? Not necessarily. But I would recommend it if you just kind of want a fun little YA fantasy with some action. On my 1 to 10, I gave it a 6.5, which is 3 pushinicorns. And then this book was on my TBR for the reading rush, but I ended up not finishing. I didn't even start it with the reading rush, but I'm including it because it's the only other book that I've finished recently, and that is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I was rereading the whole series, and I finally got around to this one. I don't know why people hate this so much. Like, I see so many people that are like, Mockingjay sucked, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you know, to each their own opinion. But I, like, loved it. And I loved it the first time I read it, and the second time I read it, and the third time I read it, and I loved it the fourth time I read it. Like, I don't know, man. I think it was solid. I think the ending, I will never get over how much I loved the ending of this. I was not expecting it, and the first time I read it, of course now I know what happens, so every time I reread it I know, but the first time I read it, I screamed out loud at the end of this book, like, what the hell? Like, just freaked out. Like, oh God, I love it. I love it so much, and it's so sad. But that moment at the end, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I think most people have read this by now, but still, I don't want to give spoilers. Now, the ending, like the epilogue, it's whatever. Like, I've said it a million times. I think Katniss is asexual. I think Katniss didn't really care if she got married and had kids, necessarily. Like, she just loved Peeta as a person because he's such a good person, and like, how could you not love him? And he was there, and he loved her, and eventually she got to the point of wanting that companionship, and so she just was like, okay, sure, I guess let's do this. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just never bought that she was like madly in love with him. And definitely not Gale. Fuck. Oh God, no. But I still love it. I mean, the ending, the epilogue doesn't ruin it for me. It doesn't make me like hate the whole book or the whole series. I just wish it had ended a bit differently in that regard, but it still was a solid ass ending for me. And I just will never forget. I'll never forget reading that for the first time. And this book has one of my favorite fucking lines in it. The if we burn, you burn with us. Oh my God. Watching the movie, I was crying. My boyfriend was here and he's like, are you crying? And I was like, yeah, I'm crying. Like, I will cry more over shit like that than really sad, sappy stuff. Like, empowering, like, hell yeah moments. Oh, they get me. They get me every fucking time. So on my 1 to 10, this got a 9, which is 5 pushinicorns. I feel like my Hunger Games rereads are like some of the only 5 stars for this year. There we have it. Those are the books that I have read recently, mostly for the reading rush. So a successful reading rush for me. I did not vlog every day. I did one vlog for days 1 and 2, and it was like, how long was it? Like 3 minutes long or some shit? I don't even know. It was like the shortest vlog ever. Because, I don't know, I didn't feel like it. And then like, there's so many fucking vlogs from Reading Rush that mine probably wouldn't have even gotten viewed really anyway. Like, whatever, it's fine. If you participated in the reading rush, let me know down below if you were successful, aka did you have a good time with it? You know, you might not have read all the books you wanted to read, but like, did you have fun? I hope so. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.